What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode number 74 of the RUDIS podcast. Matt, that puts us at number 100 sometime in October, I think.
We should be reaching up there pretty quick. I can't believe we're at
Pretty quick.
74
Well, actually,
already.
you
Yeah.
know, well, if I go to Worlds or if you possibly take another coach, depending on my fight schedule, I mean, you could knock out 6 or 7 in that one week if you're doing them after sessions and stuff.
No, I
That
mean,
could go fast.
that's
It could go.
gonna accelerate really quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got some junior worlds coming up, and we're gonna have some cadet worlds coming up. So we'll have a lot of world championship stuff to talk about. But obviously, what we're talking about today, we were there last week. You and I were both there. We were at Fargo. Man, it's an awesome tournament. It's something that we've both gone to for many, many years. I think it has definitely a sense of nostalgia to it, and it was a great tournament
Yeah, I mean, by the numbers, obviously it's
by the numbers.
by the numbers. I mean, they smashed all previous attendance records, as far
I
back
got
as
the I got
they
the
could go.
graph up.
Um,
I got the graph up for us, so I can read
which
that off if you'd like.
Yeah, which is really exciting to see. I think the middle of this decade, it kind of tabled off and plateaued a little bit, and then the last 5 years, it's been on the uptick, quite
Absolutely.
in all styles, not just in freestyle, but freestyle Greco women's in specific. They really, I think the
Yeah.
women
You
topped
you
out
know
right around
what?
1,000.
So the women. So I have the graph that went from it goes by style and it goes from 2010 to 2019, and the women went from 200 to 950. So that's a gigantic jump in those 9 years. I mean, they're 4x. So I mean, almost 5x. Yeah, it's fantastic. And I think Matt, I would attribute the total growth. And I said this before, and obviously we're a media company now, but we don't cover live events to this point. I don't know that we ever will for sure. But Flo covering it, putting the coverage on it, I think the same thing has happened to UWW cadets and UWW juniors, which weren't thought of nearly as highly maybe a decade ago. And then once Flo starts putting a coverage on it, and Flo's really only done like really heavy coverage of Fargo, I want to say 3 or 4 years. I
Yeah,
don't think it's
I
been a whole
wanted
bunch.
I wanted to say I wanted to say like around 2014, 2013, they might have jumped in and
Maybe
started doing it for the
okay.
first time.
So
But it's still
maybe I'm maybe a couple years off.
but if
Yeah,
you look at
same
the
thing.
if you
That
look at the numbers from 2013 and where
Yep.
they've risen, I mean, that's kind of, 2013, 2014 is kind of where you
Yeah.
started seeing the uptick in the progression. So obviously, I think obviously Flo's coverage of it, the exposure that kids can get out there, is something. Also want to what do you think about this? Also runs in tandem with the elevation of the RTCs as well. So I think
Yeah. I
not
mean,
only do
well,
we have
I
media
think
coverage there, we also have
yeah.
these RTCs around the country that back in the early this decade, I think there was a novelty to the RTCs, and I think in the last 5 years, I think they've really fleshed themselves out and really have had a dramatic impact on a lot of states.
Yeah.
So,
Matt,
um,
but I would say it's I like that you bring up the RTCs because I'll tell you at the University of Wisconsin where I coached the RTC we do a specific high school day with our point of emphasis being we want to get high school kids that one specific day, so we move the practice time a little bit. And we probably had between 30 and 50 high school kids every single practice at the RTC practicing alongside the college guys, and it was a fantastic environment. And so, we are just really starting to take advantage of that. But I know other states and places have done it previously. The one team that I see post about it frequently is the Pennsylvania RTC. I see them always posting high school kids stuff, which is great. But I would say it has the opposite effect, man. I would say that high school kids getting the training earlier is then relating to our long term success as RTCs and international level wrestlers, because I think we are having actually Yanni and I were just discussing this. We're having more success at the cadet level, at the junior level, at the senior level internationally than America's ever had in its history. And I think a lot of that is directly attributed to high level coaching from a younger age.
no, without a doubt. But I think the other thing that the RTCs bring to the table as well, is that I think in the mid 2000 early in the 2010, the decade of the 2010s, you saw the rise of, you know, folk style wrestling throughout the entirety of the year, which it used to be segmented
Oh, interesting.
for the longest period of time, right? There had been a couple
I mean,
preseason
there
tournaments, the high
was
school season, then you got into the freestyle and Greco season, but I think
yeah.
it started
Well,
trickling
Matt,
more and
for
more
us in
like
Wisconsin here, but in Wisconsin, Fargo's right, almost not right next door, but it's damn close. So Fargo's been a big thing since ever. But I think, and maybe you could speak on this. I always felt like the East Coast, and maybe it's because it's so expensive, but the New Jersey, the Pennsylvania, the New York, I felt like they would have a handful of their studs, but I always didn't feel like some of those East Coast states would bring all of their guys to the freestyle and Greco. A lot of it folk style all summer. Is that
no,
true, or am I way off on that?
no, I think it's
You
correct because it is. I mean,
okay?
that's the one thing that we'll probably get into. Like the one downside of Fargo is the expense. Like I heard,
It's
you know,
expensive, yeah.
when we were out there, I know one state that I was talking to, it was like well over $2,000 to attend
What?
Fargo. Yeah, it's
How is that
absolutely
possible?
insane. I know. What's the cost for a Wisconsin kid? And I know that's different. You guys are right next door, basically. It's a what, nine,
Oh,
10
I
hour
don't know.
trip.
I don't know the exact cost offhand, but I know they do a 3-day training camp in June and then a 2 to 3 day training camp right before on the border. So on the border of Wisconsin, Minnesota, and then they take a bus from there to Fargo. And so I mean, it ends up being I think 8 to 9 nights overnight in hotels that the kids are staying, but it's I want to say $500 ish is my guess. $2,000, I can't even fathom that, man. Because I mean, I run camps, so I know the cost of stuff. And if you're on a plane ticket, maybe $400, entry fee 50 to 100, and then if they're doing room and board at Fargo, which that's what a lot of teams do. That's why USA Wrestling loves the setup at North Dakota State is that the kids can get a meal pass and a dorm room right next door where they can walk, and a lot of states do that. But Matt, you're talking 40 to $50 a day for that package,
Yeah,
depending
then
on what
I
college you're going
mean,
to.
then you
So how do you
include
get to 2,000?
well, I think you
Gear,
talk about
okay, gear package,
you
you get a
talk
couple
about
hundred.
gear pack for sure is expensive. Training camps, a lot of these kids actually do their training camps, and so they actually stay the week and at hotels at their training facility in their state. So I mean the costs escalate really quickly, especially when you were talking about, why the numbers were maybe not as strong on the East Coast. Well, the reality of on the East Coast or maybe
Yeah,
even on the far West Coast, you have
West
to
Coast is worse.
you have to fly. It's almost impossible.
Yes, have to fly.
I've heard of I know Pennsylvania used to drive a bus, and I
They
know
used to
when I was
bus it. It was forever, Matt. It was like 20
insane,
hours.
yeah, 20 hours. And just that would
Sounds
break me.
miserable.
That would break me right there. Like if you said, "Oh, you got a 40-hour bus trip to and from the event," I'm like, I'm out. But yeah,
Out. Done.
I mean, that's a pretty big commitment. I
Does Ohio still bus or no? Because that's a far trip.
I think they actually do. I believe
Because they used to
they
stop in
still
Wisconsin
do.
and work out. I remember that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Wow.
Um, so I know when I was in Pennsylvania, I was approached a number of times to actually coach the Fargo team, and I'm just like, I'll do it if you don't mind if I just fly up there, because I'm, if I've got a bus to
Yeah.
and from, I mean that's enough to tip the scales and say, yeah, I'll just go out there and evaluate recruits instead of actually coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I know for us, I guess how's your I know the team. This is like the only tournament where there's a team, the state team feeling. And for me, I'm split on it. I think it's kind of a cool thing, but obviously then we have requirements. We can't just show up like you're talking about. The state of Wisconsin tries to make us required to do some specific things. Um, but I kind of like it
I
with the state format. Are you in favor of keeping
I
that or no?
no, I love it. I love it. I just
You
think it's
love it. Okay.
so formative for all the kids that actually participate. It's such a seminal moment in your wrestling career. If you've ever experienced a training camp, a trip, even that bus trip, I mean, now
Yeah, absolutely.
as I'm older, the prospect of jumping in a bus and going 20 hours. But when you're a high school kid, there's some
Absolutely.
things to that experience that really galvanize you as a team and galvanize you throughout the state and kind of collectively bring you together, because I know once you return back to the state, you've got your rooting interest from your district or from your section or
Yeah,
from
of
wherever you
course.
are, and I think that's one of the unique aspects of the trip is it actually brings states together as one. And I know even 20 years after the fact, when I run into my old national team members, I mean, it's an experience that you still
Yeah.
talk about,
Yeah, I
right? And
mean,
it's
I
really
have
cool.
fond memories. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I can tell you right now a handful of friends that were built, whether it was the junior duels trips or the Fargo trips. I mean, it was some of those, but kids that lived all the way across the state that I'm still friends with today because of those trips. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, it is a very unique event. It's very cool. They were talking about moving from Fargo, but now it seems as though it's just gonna stay in Fargo forever.
Yeah, because I thought a year ago, I thought
The bid was up
I
like a
thought I
year
thought
ago
the
or
bid
2
was
years
coming
ago.
up, and I thought it was going. I know there was some talk, maybe Indiana. I had heard a couple different places. I had heard
Oh, really?
Indiana.
Hmm.
I actually heard Kentucky of all places at one point. I don't know if there's,
Really?
and I don't
Wow.
have my pulse on that conversation, but I've just
Mhm.
conversations that you hear that you have here and there. I kind of heard because that is I think Fargo's really cool and what they've done and the niche they've carved out in wrestling as kind of like the mecca for high school athletes to go and embark and experience is cool. But logistically, it's not the easiest place for many people throughout the country to
No.
get to. So I know
Fly
the
flying into Fargo is a challenge.
it is a challenge. I know for me, even I flew into Minneapolis and just drove over because it was one
Yes.
cheaper and you know quicker in some ways just to drive 3 hours over there. But I
Yep.
know centralizing the location more to the Midwest seems more like
Mhm.
a logical thing. But yeah, I know the economic impact that bringing this tournament to Fargo, what it does to the community in Fargo, and the economic impact it has,
Well,
and
hey, Matt, am I crazy or is Fargo kinda coming up? Their downtown's kinda hip a little bit.
no,
I was,
yeah.
like, thrown off. It
What was a
Am I
place
off?
no, I said when we were
It's
having
kinda
dinner out there, it's
cool.
kinda cool. I liked it. Like,
It's kinda cool
it's
down there.
yeah. No, I
Vinyl
vi
Taco maybe or somewhere?
Vinyl Taco, shout out to Vinyl Taco,
Yeah.
right? And it
No, but
got
they got a couple cool I mean, I got mad about the one hipster coffee shop that was too slow when I was late to the IMAR podcast, but, I mean, they got a lot of really cool little restaurants downtown. I mean, they've redone everything down there in the last 5 years, it seems like. Fargo's kinda cool.
it could be yeah.
What do you think about what do you think my wife would say if I proposed a vacation there with
"Hey,
her?
let's take the kids. Amy, what do you think? Let's head over to Fargo for the weekend."
Oh, that'd be funny, wouldn't it? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. 4 days in July is enough for me.
But yeah, I mean,
Um,
I
okay.
always think it's no matter where you go, like there's cool places wherever you go. And we were able to find a couple
Yeah.
cool places where we were out there and
Except Akron. That's a dump.
hey, whoa, 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 whoa.
I
All right, well
heard we're not
next
going
time.
back. I heard
Well, next year,
I heard we're not
next
going
year,
back.
next year I'll take you to some
What?
places in Akron.
No, I heard we're not going back to Akron. That's the rumor on the street.
Really, where's it going? I hadn't heard
Yes,
that.
I was not told where it was going. Well, I've heard rumors that they're gonna put it in Vegas also, is what I've heard.
That would make
So,
a lot of
I
logical sense.
it
But
would make a lot of
that
sense, and
wouldn't that
the
wouldn't that
UWW could
but wouldn't that disrupt a little bit the U23s and the field of juniors because there would be a lot of guys that
well, I don't know, but so I'm speaking specifically about UWW cadets. I don't know about the
okay.
U23s. I don't care as much about that age group. Um, I mean, yeah, if you so I guess now that I think about it, U23s and UWW juniors, a lot of those kids are the same kids. They
Yeah,
wrestle at
you're
both those
you're
events.
kind of
But
diluting, and I think of the 2 events, U23s would definitely suffer the most. You would probably just see you
yes,
wouldn't see the high level high school kids
yes.
that are able to cross in there. So I think U23s, which I think overall, I mean, the point of emphasis is field of juniors and field of cadets as far as
U23s is just not that well attended. I mean, we talked about it this year about how, we talked about possible ways to recruit better, older kids. And a lot of it has to do with the timing of the tournament. That World Championships is in like late October or November, and that's a
and not
college age group. So it's weird. People aren't that interested in it.
Yeah, I was just talking to Amy Rosselli, Lou's wife actually works for the company, and we were talking about that. Obviously, Lou's wrestler Jake Woodley had that special wrestle off
Oh yeah.
with
Mhm.
Bo Nickel, and on the one hand, she said it was disappointing that that he lost to Bo and won't be able to attend the World Championships, but she said on the flip side of that, with it being late October, early November, it really has a huge impact on these guys
Yeah.
and the college season. But I would also take it back to the timing of U23s at the end of May. The timing of
That's
that,
also when
it just
colleges are out. That kinda
it
stinks too.
yeah, yeah, most colleges, they get out the 1st or 2nd week of May, and so these guys have to
Yep.
stay at their college locations for an additional 2 to 3 weeks, um, and so
Mhm.
the timing of that is not ideal, so if you could actually bump all those up into April, I think it's a lot more. I think the quality of the
Yeah,
tournament, the
for real.
participation of the tournament would definitely grow a lot more, um, but
Well, I mean, I was so from a college coach's perspective, Matt. Okay, so the U23s, I'm sorry, the UWW cadets and the UWW juniors, those age groups don't really cross over.
no.
There's barely anyone who's ever cadet eligible who's also ready for juniors. It happens very infrequently. And so for a college coach to be able to take his kids to either U23s or UWW juniors and also recruit UWW juniors and UWW cadets, that takes a weekend off their plate. So I'm sure they're pretty psyched about it too.
Yeah, I think that would be great, but, when you're talking to that that's almost like information overload to the extent if you put all those tournaments in Vegas, if you have cadets, juniors, U23s, senior level, because these college coaches also have a lot of guys competing at the senior level tournament too, so that's a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, all you would have to do
A lot in one
is
weekend. Bring all
I
your
I
coaches.
think you bring all your coaches. Yeah, I think where
Yes,
you
absolutely.
typically see 1 or 2 representatives from a college program, you just bring your entire staff and your RTC staff, and
Yeah.
you bring them in. So that would make a lot of sense. So, should be interesting to
Yeah,
see how that
absolutely.
plays out. So, I don't know if
Yeah.
this is the year to embark on that leading up into an Olympic year. I think that's a
Well, obviously, remember, Matt, the seniors are in December.
true. And then
They're
as
o the so there'll be no seniors in Vegas because the Olympic trials are April 4 and 5 in State College.
Right, so
So
actually
it might
this
be a good
would
year to
be
do
the
it because the seniors
would
are
be the year.
out.
Yeah, yeah, so it would
Yeah.
be
O
to iron the kinks out and get that going. Yeah, so we'll see.
Ab Okay. Absolutely. So, hey, I guess I wanna take my personal bias out of, before we talk about results, I'll just talk obviously, I have a bias, I'm coaching. So I always talk about our AWA performance so I can kinda get that out of the way, and then we'll just talk about results. Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's your
Okay.
that was your investment in the tournament was your I mean, as much as you
Yeah.
wanted to see the Wisconsin guys, you have a more a deeper investment with your
Well,
40
we have so many guys,
AWA.
Matt.
Yeah,
Yeah, we about 49, AWA guys in the freestyle portion of it, and so, yeah, I mean, I was so busy. I mean, if we just keep track of our guys, that's tough enough as it is. But, the thing was, I did a mental Monday, right? Actually, right before this, Matt, I went live on Instagram, did a mental Monday, and then it's also gonna go up on the RUDIS website, but kind of what I talked about was, I'm gonna tie this into my team's results, staying the course. So I talk about finding balance and everything. A lot of times I talk about self-awareness and figuring out what you're doing wrong and how to fix it and making those tough decisions. And so for me, Fargo this year, I think we had a lot of guys at AWA doing the right things, and maybe they didn't get the exact results they want. And so for me, it's about saying, hey, you're doing all the right things, just keep going. And then for my own the AWA performance, my own self, we actually have I do this so I don't go crazy. And I'm early in my coaching career, I would always feel like we lost and oh, we lost that match, we lost the match. And so what I did, Matt, was I created spreadsheets where I track results by year of a handful of tournaments, which I find to be very important. And so then when I feel like crap that night and I'm going home, oh, we lost this match and this match, this match, I can look back to how we did the previous year and our results are consistently getting better. And so I can say, oh, we had this many in the round of 12 last year. We have this many in the round of 12 this year. We had this many wins last year. We have this many wins this year or whatever, and I can kind of watch it as I go. So our performance this year, well, we had no finalists, which was utterly depressing. I was so sad after we lost 3 semifinals in a row on the junior side. we had 9 All-Americans, and we had 27 kids win 3 matches or more. So when I think about it that way, I'm ecstatic. I think it was
Break
fantastic.
that
I was
down.
really
Break that
excited.
down from a year ago. How did
So, okay,
that?
so Matt, well, here's what I do, Matt. I calculate it in 2 different ways because it's not fair anymore because you have front side wins and backside wins, right?
Right.
So say you win your first 3 matches and you get a bye and then win 3 matches, you're all the way to the round of 8, which means, if you lose, you're in the top 12, you gotta win 1 more match for a blood round. So if you lose, you have 3 wins. If you lost first round and come to the backside and get to the round 12, you gotta win
Holy
like 7 or
smoke!
8 matches to get there. So the 3 and the 8, obviously they're equal because you both end up in the round 12, even though one is 7 or 8 and one is 3. So I have it separated 2 ways. I have it counted as number of wins you get 0, 1, 2, 3, or 3 or more. Because if you win 3 or more matches in Fargo, you're pretty much a badass. I mean, that's just
Yeah,
what it comes down to. If you win that many
you're
matches, you're
legit.
good. Then then I also have it separated by the round you get knocked out in. So, are you an All American? Do you get knocked out in the round of 12, 16, 24, 32, or 48? Because that will then, obviously, like I said, if you move far on the front side, you advance far in the tournament, but maybe you don't have quite as many wins. Or, like we have a lot of kids who win their first 2 matches, and then they're in the round of 32 or the round of 16, and then they have really tough matches and they might get knocked out. They might not feel good about that because they only won a couple matches, but they kind of made it far in the tournament. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So yeah, so overall, I feel really good about our performance, even though we got no finalists. We had a whole bunch of All Americans, and a lot of guys do really well. So I was really happy.
And you
So
actually had, I want to pat you on the back. You actually had the lion's
we'll
share of the All Americans from Wisconsin, right?
correct, yeah. So well, of the freestyle portion,
Of
obviously.
the freestyle, you
Um,
had what, four
we had
and
one.
eight?
So we had one female, Sophia. We had 5 cadets, and then we had 3 juniors in the freestyle portion, All American.
That's
So it's
great.
much better than we've ever done. So we will probably be talking just about finals. So I don't think we'll be talking about my guys at all. So sorry, guys, you didn't make the finals. We can't talk. Can't talk about you, but I'm proud of you all. So let's go junior finals. We're not gonna have time to talk about all of these, Matt. We've talked about probably half the show about just kind of generalities. So I'm just gonna pick out a handful of performances I was really impressed with, and then if you want to, talk about those or talk about something totally different, let's go. Um, the first one I'm gonna pick out is a guy named Angelo Rini. I had heard of him, I had never watched him, and he ended up getting a tech fall in the finals. But the match of his, I was really impressed with. He had I now I'm okay. I'm blanking on this was a quarterfinal or semifinal. He had a match with Wyatt Henson that was insane. It was back and forth.
Insane. Yes.
Oh, you saw this match also?
That was the semifinals because I was able
Okay,
to
the
actually,
semis.
of the live stuff that I came over, I was able to watch your guys in the semifinals, and maybe I was the
Yeah.
jinx because that was the only session I attended the semifinals. That was the only one, and your guys all lost that round. But it was
Damn
the
it.
semifinals against Wyatt Henson. Now is that Sammy's
It was
son?
awesome. That's Sammy's younger son. His older son is graduated last year, so this is his younger son. Um, yeah, Matt, the match was awesome. I mean, for a while it looked like Rennie was just down on his luck, and Henson was getting takedown after takedown, and then all of a sudden Rennie starts gassing Henson out and gets a couple takedowns, and then locks up a leg lace. And I think he teched him, Matt. I think he ended up just
I thought it
continued
was a
rolling.
trapped. Was it a lace or a trapped arm?
Oh,
I thought it was a trapped
damn it.
arm.
Was it trapped arm? It was something
Um,
where he just kept turning him over and over again.
yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
you
it
might
was
be
just
right. I think you're right.
yeah. When he got that up, I remember because I remember seeing Sammy in the corner, and he's like threw his hands up like crap, like I know where this is going to end up. Because at the time when he got it, I think it
Yep.
was 13-13 when he got the trapped arm locked up. It was
It
like
was something like that,
yeah,
yes.
it was a really
It was
really
crazy.
fun match to watch.
Yeah. That was an awesome match. I was super, super impressed with, Angelo Rini. I never seen him. Is he going to college somewhere? Is he a junior, senior? I don't even know.
I am not. I'm still getting back up to speed with the current Ohio guys. I've kind of been removed since
Oh,
I've
he's a
been
St.
out.
Ed's kid. Okay.
Yep.
And he's going to Columbia University. Good huge pickup for them. Wow, nice.
Yeah, that's a
Boom.
great pickup. And they actually have some connection. Columbia's had a number of St. Ed's guys that have gone to Columbia.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the connection?
I think it's just
You
one.
know?
I St. Ed's is a really good private school, so I think when you
Okay.
have
Great
opportunities to
education.
a great education to great education, I think a lot of people just think
Mhm.
of St. Ed's as a wrestling school, but it's also a very elite academic school in Cleveland, Ohio. So there is a draw to the Ivy Leagues when these kids have
Nice.
the
Sure.
opportunity or you know academic acumen to do that. So yeah, that's great. Columbia.
Absolutely. Um, well, we're gonna go to another Ohio kid, but on the negative side, Matt. Did you see the stat on this? I think the stat is these guys have wrestled, I believe it's 4 years in a row at Fargo. It was like the quarters, the semis, and the finals. Dom Serrano, Michael Burnett, I believe they call him Mick. Dom Serrano is super impressive. I got lucky enough to do a camp, just do a 2-day camp in Colorado where he attended. He was an awesome kid, super mature. And so I've got to watch him have success at Fargo almost every single year. He's going to University of Nebraska. He's a powerhouse. He's really diverse, dynamic. And he beats Mick Burnett for I believe it's the 4th year in a row at Fargo.
Wow.
Oh, Mick
And
Burnett's got to
Mick,
have a picture of this dude on the wall
he
with an
also had,
extra.
if I remember, like he had a pretty exciting semifinal match too, if I remember.
Oh, I don't.
Um,
So the way the semis are set up there, if you're on the floor, it's hard to see both. So you were in the stands, so you probably got to see both. I didn't really get to see both,
because I just
unfortunately.
set up from a diagonal view. They had it on what, Matt, 10, and on the stage
10
were
and
the
1.
10 and
Yes, 10
1.
and 1.
Yeah, so I just
Mhm.
sat with the sight line where I could take in both matches and kind of see the semifinals on both. But I'm trying to remember
Let me
who
see.
he
So
had, but
it was him and Joe. Oh, no, I'm at the wrong weight class. I'm an idiot. Sorry. I was talking about Joe Zargo versus Voinovich was a really good semifinal also.
yep.
But that's the wrong weight class. We'll talk about that in a second. He had a semifinal with Moshe Schwartz where he won 6-4. So I did not see that one.
I'm trying to remember the sequence at the end. I know they reviewed it. I think Burnett took him down right at the
Yeah,
end,
he
scored right
scores a
at the end.
takedown to win with
Yeah,
3
and
seconds
so
left.
so they challenged it because it was short time, and he got the takedown with no time on the clock. So that was a really good semifinal match as
So
well.
they gave bricks from the beginning of this one. And I think it wasn't as bad as UW gets because there was just parents everywhere, right? It's not like UW, it's the team aspect. So it's all actual real coaches. So there weren't that many bitter bricks as there were in Akron. So it was good. It moved nice
Did
and
did
smooth.
did
The
did
review
you
process is
now
solid.
now did you or Max throw a bitter brick? Because I know in one of the semifinal matches, Max was absolutely losing his mind. I
He was
and
pissed. It was
I
kick
was
guys
like,
and plot. Watch that sequence. Okay, watch that sequence. So the sequence is Parker shoots a double, and this is the hard point. This is the hard part. This is the part I have such a hard time with freestyle. Is it could go 4 one way or 4 the other. That's an 8-point swing. That's literally 80% of the result of the match, Matt.
yeah.
So there's one part where Parker shoots, and it looks like he's going to get trapped in a chest wrap. I think the rest messes up, but he lost, whatever. And instead of going over, he kind of jumps over and they give plot 4, and then they end up confirming the 4th plot. I don't think Parker ever exposed, and he has his legs still, and he puts them on his back. So I think it should be either 4 or 2, if you want to say it's defensive, for Parker.
See, I had turned away for a split second to look at another match, and I turned back and I just
Yeah.
saw Max just going ape out of his
He,
mind,
he
and
was
I'm
he
like,
was
what
losing, Max doesn't
happened
lose
there?
his mind too much.
Yeah. So I knew, yeah. I mean, you've said
Yeah.
that about Max. He's like, he doesn't get emotional, but when he does, it's usually for a reason. So I knew when he was
Yeah.
that animated and feeling so strongly about someone, was like something definitely must have gone on there.
Yeah, that was a wild match, and obviously Parker ended up on the losing end of that. But there were a few calls there that I didn't really like, and Max coaches Parker one on one, so he was a little more emotional about it, and I let him. You can't both be insane, so I let him be insane, and I just I supported him.
So
But
is
that
it
that bracket was actually, if we're gonna jump around, Matt, that was the bracket of the tournament. Junior 182, because I don't like the way Willie does it. Willie says 57 ranked wrestlers didn't place. And I think that number is a little bit deceiving because in end of May, June, he takes all the seniors out, right? So he takes all the seniors out. So now there's still 200 and whatever ranked 200, let's see, 14 times 20, 280 ranked wrestlers, but all the seniors are taken out. So all these other guys go in. So, but if you think of like a bracket like 182, part of that means Parker's not ranked, Abe Assad's not ranked, Chris Foca is not ranked. And so if you guys have those in the ranks, that
Plot's not ranked
no,
either.
he's the senior. No, he's gonna be senior still.
Oh, okay.
He,
Yeah,
yeah, he's not
I had him
graduated.
wrong. I actually thought he was
Yeah. Well, so
going
if you
to
put those guys
Okie
back
State.
in the no, 1 more year, even though the
Okay.
Oklahoma State
But
coaches were kinda in the corner. Well, we won't comment on that too much. But if you put those guys man, if you put those guys back in the ranks, that means 3 other kids get knocked out of the rankings, right?
yeah, it's kind of
So although
it's a skewed
it's
statistic
skewed,
on their part. Yeah.
absolutely. But this bracket, I mean, 182 juniors, freestyle was insane, totally insane.
Insane.
The plot, I don't know, you didn't get to see the plot. Foca, that was the quarter. That went 14-14. Totally crazy match. Just a lot of fun. Foca's kind of scrambly, doesn't really, he actually won Greco, which I didn't know he was that good at Greco, but he's got a lot of sneaky stuff. So, plot was shooting a lot. They were going really back and forth. And then Abe Assad ended up beating Plot, which I didn't see coming. He beat Plot in the finals. But then Rocky Elam was in this bracket. Chris Focal, like we talked about. Zach Glazier, Rocky Elam. I mean, man, just really, really outstanding. Devin Winston didn't even place. He was a number one ranked guy last year. I mean, just crazy bracket.
Assad is
Yeah.
actually, I mean, that's as good a version as I've seen from him. And I think, I think part of that, and I don't think we're going to have time for this discussion, but what Illinois does and how they prepare their team and how they just
Yeah.
they're replicating at this point, they're to the point where you want to get AWA, right? You're frustrated,
Eh,
that
well,
you
then the
didn't,
whole state, but
but they've
yeah.
got the whole
Yeah.
state. And I think that's, this is decades. I mean, this is a long time in the making to kind of they've got this system down where they just produce these guys. I thought
Yeah.
I
Well, I
I
mean,
think
they're one of the better wrestling states. I think another interesting discussion, Matt, would be, 'cause I gotta watch how good these guys are all the time, right? Well, we're right next door, so I see them at little kids tournaments. I see them at Northern Plains. I see them all the time. How good Illinois is, and for whatever reason, their kids aren't having the collegiate level success. So that's another, that's a big piece of play. It's not like Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania kills it at the this division, and they kill it at the college level. Ohio kills it in the younger divisions. They kill it at the college level. Illinois, if you look at the results from number of NCAA qualifiers, number of All Americans, they've been, I don't want to say struggling, but when you compare what they're doing at that level compared to this level, it just doesn't match up for whatever reason.
and this is going into, into a different area, but
Now we're getting deep.
I know for myself, and I also talked to a number of college coaches, not only this year, but in previous tournaments. I'm like, as a college coach, when you're going out there to recruit and evaluate talent, for me, what I did, I tried not to recruit. I never recruited on results in Fargo
Yeah.
because you just never know. Like when you see the Illinois kids, like these guys have a high proficiency in freestyle. So when you see a kid that
Yeah, I mean, if
runs
someone's
the
great at a
tournament,
gut wrench and a leg glaze,
right? And
that goes a
but
long way.
but then on the flip side, like you said, you look at some of these PA guys, I'm like, man, you don't even know what you're doing out there, but you're somehow staying competitive. So
Yes.
it's hard to really to recruit on results and to give out a scholarship based on a Fargo result. I think is kind of short sighted. What I tended to do was just evaluate talent. I tried to look at skill sets, what they were doing, and try and remove some of the freestyle from the
Yeah.
equation and just kind of
Absolutely.
evaluate what the skill level is. Um, so I think that's where a lot of and I don't want to discourage kids from going out to Fargo and earning money because I think they can do that and I think they should. But I think for college coaches,
Well,
it's like,
it's more of a pay attention to me. I mean, I'm sure as a college coach, man, what you're saying is you saw some kid, oh shoot, who's that kid? He just took fifth at Fargo. Then you're going, okay, how do you do at the state tournament? How did you do at Super 32? And you're kind of probably checking out, trying to watch some of his other matches. And obviously now in 2019, maybe when you were coaching, it wasn't always accessible, but that's pretty much always accessible. You can find more film on almost everybody.
yeah, because then I mean, shuffling back into the tournament and going back to 145 when we're looking at this kid from Arizona, the
Echemendia or something.
Echemendia.
Well, there was
Yep.
rumors. So Willie said he's gonna come out with the truth, but there was rumors that he was significantly too old for the tournament. And the one thing is people are telling me the one thing I did find on Google while I was searching his name is that he won not UWW, but cadet national trials for and junior nationals for 6 years straight. So that's how old you are is 6 years. There's 6 years of cadets and juniors, 15 through 20 essentially, starting in 2013. And Matt, if that's true, that would make him currently 21. So I maybe that could be wrong. I don't know. Willie's gonna come out with what the deal is. I'm
And I
not
guess
sure.
I'm not
Unless the
what I was trying like with Mendia, I wanted to point out is like he definitely high level proficiency in freestyle. And it carried over into Greco, even though he said he had never wrestled Greco. I'm just saying his skill set and what he was bringing to the table was such at a higher
well,
level
he's
than the rest of the
Cuban.
tournament. He's Cuban. I mean, that's all he's wrestled his entire
That's
life
all he did.
is freestyle. So,
Yeah.
if you're a college coach looking at this guy running through both styles, like, holy cow, I'm going to give this kid a full ride. I'm like, oh, let's backtrack a little bit. This kid's never wrestled folk style before. So how's that going to translate into a college program? So that I didn't
Yeah.
want to really get into. I
Well,
had
no,
heard
I heard
those.
he's going they said he's going to WCAP because he only has 1 year of American high school. So I've heard he's
Gotcha.
going to WCAP for the Army.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's true or false. One other okay, another I know we're gonna run out of time. I'm not gonna bring up all the important impressive performances. One other guy who I was really impressed with, and I actually think my guy will be wrestling him at Who's Number One, which is exciting. Padre Gallagher. He's kind of a kid I've seen him a few times, but I don't believe he's won at a big tournament like this.
I
He
love how
looked
I love
awesome.
I love how you keep pulling out these Ohio guys, right?
Ohio had a good tournament.
They had a really good
He's a
tournament.
beast.
Yeah.
He's really good, and I think he was I believe he's a St. Ed's kid. Is that correct?
Yep.
Um, and I mean, from my feeling is he didn't really have a huge proficient freestyle background. He's just been kind of getting into it, figuring it out. He had a crazy quarterfinal win over Kale Valencia, who I think is number 5 ranked right now. And then he dominated in the semis and dominated in the finals also.
Yeah, I
An
mean,
animal, total
he
animal.
he has gotta be one of the stars of the tournament, in my opinion.
I
Just the
would
way
say, right?
he just rolled. He just rolled through the tournament. The one thing
Yeah, he
about
crushed
Fargo
him.
that I
Where's he
was
going to college? Is he going anywhere, Matt? Or no?
I'm not sure. I've gotta get up to speed
Okay.
with some of these things.
I don't
But
think he's committed anywhere.
that's the thing that I always love about Fargo too, is where you see these performances that you don't necessarily see coming into the tournament, and then all of a sudden, you're looking back like, "Holy cow,
Yes.
where'd this cut?" I love when the light switch goes on, and you never know when the switch is gonna go
Yeah.
on
No,
for these kids in their high school
100%.
career, and some it's early on. I was looking at the cadet results, and one of these kids didn't even win a high school tournament a year ago. No high
What?
Not even the local tournament. He didn't win any
Come on,
tournaments the
Matt,
year before, and
stop.
then he won the cadet tournament. I'm trying to we haven't
He
gotten
won the
into
Cadet
cadets.
Freestyle
He
Nationals?
won cadet freestyles the year before. He hadn't won a high school tournament at all. So I always
Oh
love
my
seeing
god.
like when these kids start coming into their own and you see them just jump dramatic levels. Yeah, I think it's always really,
Wow.
really fun to see.
Crazy. Okay. So last guy I'm gonna mention at the junior level, and then let's bring up a few of these cadets. Braxton Amos
Yes,
goes
I'm glad
hammer
you
time on everybody. Nobody made it out of the first period, and nobody scored a point. Is that correct?
correct.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody scored a point. No one made it out of the first period. I mean, that's total beast mode.
Yeah, I mean, what is your gut saying about Amos at the next level? Because I think that's the discussion. It's not a
Well,
discussion of this wasn't a surprise. Maybe going unscored upon and Tech falling everybody in the first period is one thing, but I think everybody assumed he was going to run through this bracket.
yeah. I don't know. Sometimes, so I haven't spent a lot of time watching, but sometimes I know when these kids come out on fire, like right out of the gate at 15 at the cadets, I always question what they've been doing to get there. And then are they, obviously he was a kid who was more physically mature than others from a young age. That helps a lot. But now, it seems like I watched 2 of his matches. It seems like he's got a lot of the really high level skills to back up everything else. So it seems like he's going to be set to go. I mean, obviously, this I don't know if he's gonna go heavyweight at 197. Heavyweight we talk about is gonna be
Jeez.
stacked the next few years with maybe he drops down to 97. I don't really know. But yeah, he looked fine, fantastic, and that's
I
why I
mean,
wanted to make sure I didn't not bring him up.
no, I think his performance definitely needs to be recognized, but, when you're looking at 220, not only in freestyle, but also at the high school level, I think that's
Hmm.
a really, really hard weight class to evaluate and determine what their folk style success is gonna be at the next level in college,
It's
because
serious. It is super hard, Matt.
there's so many variables. One, can this guy actually does he have the frame and the size to mature into a heavyweight? And what's he going to do once he faces those big full size 275-pound heavyweights? Is that going to neutralize some of the things he's doing being a smaller heavyweight? Because we haven't seen many 220 pounders become big heavyweights. I think Kirk Leavette's going to be one of the big 220 pounders that
Yeah.
we
What
see mature into a full size heavyweight. So a lot
you
of
so
these
you
guys
mean two you mean 220 as a senior, Matt, correct?
220 as a
That's what you're
senior,
saying.
correct. And
Yeah,
but I
because
think
like Gable obviously was 220 earlier in his career.
right, but I think I'm
Yeah.
talking when they're coming out of high school, when they're being
Yes.
recruited
Got it.
out of 220. And then on the flip side,
Yep.
when they go down to 197, you're introducing a different level of athletic talent. And I know we can
Right.
always
Yeah.
argue that debate.
Yeah.
I know, but
Well,
I
I
think
think, Matt, I think a lot of it, I mean, and this is one of the characteristics that I bring is like bad do they want to be good? Like how much do they really want to train at the next level? Because some of these guys, and heavyweight and 97 and 220, every one of them, kind of across the board. Obviously 97 pounders are a little more athletic than heavyweights, but kind of across the board. Um, some of these guys are just more athletic and more powerful.
yeah,
And if
I think
they can have a lot of success, but if they keep training, if they say that's fine, but I want to keep training, they keep getting better. I mean, Mark Ellis would be a great example. I bring up out of Missouri. He was a walk on. He was like a one-time state champion. But he's wanted to work hard, want to be good, and he ended up winning a national title. And I think that's what it comes down to is figure out a way to determine their drive. How good, how bad they want to be good, because you can develop great heavyweight skills or 97 skills in college.
because a lot of these guys, when they're at 220, they're in that there's a level of purgatory there where you have to make a big commitment one way or the other. There's going to be a big commitment to shrink your
Yes.
body down to go 197, or there's going to be a big commitment to actually get to be a full-sized heavyweight. And I think that goes right back to your point, like what's inside them, right? And that's what's going to come
Yes.
out. If the commitment's there, if the drive is there, they're going to find a way. They're going to go up and be successful or go down. But I think
Yes.
it's 220 is, at least for me, and I know a lot of college coaches, they're like, it's always a hard thing to go all in on a 220 pounder because
Hmm.
and it's just because there hasn't been a large level, a big sample size of guys that you can point to as like, okay, this guy's going to be successful for these reasons. Um,
Yeah.
but, but yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want
It's
to
hard.
take
It's
anything
definitely
away
hard. I
from him. I
agree.
mean, he is a great high school talent. We'll see where he continues to go, but there's no doubt he's a phenomenal high school talent. Blitz the field, no competition out there, and but I think it's an interesting discussion.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, we're kind of out of time. I don't know. Maybe you and I can talk. Maybe we'll come back to another show about the cadets. We also have Cadet Worlds that's starting, I believe, the end of this weekend. And then Matt, I did announce on the Mental Monday, I am going to do a podcast with Yanni on Wednesday morning, and then I don't know when exactly we'll release that, but that's gonna be really exciting because man, I listen to him talk to our kids, and I'm like, dude, I got to talk to you. We need a podcast. So I suggested it, and then his flight ended up getting changed, and so we couldn't do it live here at my house. So we're gonna get on Skype and do it. But yeah, he has a fascinating way he thinks about things, and obviously he's had a huge amount of success. So it should be a lot of fun talking to him.
No, I can't wait to be a fly on the wall and just listen to that and hear his perspective and hear where he's coming through and some of the things that you uncover. So I think that's going to be fascinating.
Awesome. All right, Matt, that was a lot of fun, and I will talk to you later.
All right, Ben, take care.